Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another exciting edition of the Stingray Show. I am Stephen Ray, and we have back this week
Beham.
Mississippi State. Yes, sir. Mississippi State is who we're going to be talking about today, and I want to start off by asking and saying this, Brian. Can you believe the weather outside? It is just
bad.
Yeah.
We're in a rainstorm here, a tropical rainstorm, and so you can see the
Hold on.
You can see the trees here. We're in the tropics,
Right.
So it's equivalent to a tropical rainstorm outside.
Absolutely. And let me turn the camera around just for a second and show you. And this is what we are inundated with right now. As you can see, it is all across Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. It's just getting inundated with rain. Of course, let me show you the cursor here is over Birmingham. There's Tuscaloosa, Jackson, Mississippi. So all of this stuff is going to be moving in our direction, and it's pretty much just sitting right on top of us right now.
Tornadic weather?
No tornadic weather.
If there was, would we stay with the audience in our safe place?
I believe so. We would.
Okay,
yes.
We would still be able to finish the show in our safe place.
Yes, that's right. So just really, really heavy rain. But what we're going to do now is we're starting the show a little bit late today. So what we're going to do is go on into our Mississippi State preview with Joel T. Coleman of the Starkville Daily News. We're going to give him a call in just a second and talk about the Bulldogs. And how excited are you for Mississippi State this season, Brian?
Well, I'm pretty excited. Alabama's my number one team. I think that's what everybody thought I was going to do.
Yes.
But no, I had a Mississippi State shirt on to begin with. Didn't know I was going to have to put the poncho on.
Yeah, I know.
Because the rain was so bad when I left the house. But, like I said, Alabama, alma mater, unlike Stingray, they're still my team. Well, he's always been a State fan. So,
yes.
But Bama's my number one team. State's my two team. Like I said, I used to work there. I don't know if I said that for 2 years, and have a lot of respect, a lot of love for State, and we're going to be going to a few games out there as well this year. So Mississippi State's my ag school.
Yes.
Because I'll never take my animals to a vet in Auburn.
Right. Oh, yes, that's right.
So that's right. My dog got really sick recently. We were thinking about maybe having to take him to the vet in State.
Right. And you notice
I'm ready for State.
You notice back here we've got a brand new sign back here for today. It's Mississippi State instead. We usually have the Stingray sign, but since we're talking about the Bulldogs, we got cowbells and we have the sign back there. All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit Mississippi State football, and while we are calling him, what do you expect, Brian, out of the Bulldogs this season?
I expect improvement from last year. I know that they were ranked 7th again by the media. However, most publications put Ole Miss last. I think if they had a do-over, Ole Miss would be last.
Because Hugh Freeze was still the coach,
Yeah, and now he's gone, so are a couple recruits. I think you're going to see people that start transferring. Have any current players transferred out yet?
Not that I know of, but I do know that 2 players were arrested last week for shoplifting, so it's really been going downhill.
Well, they're not getting paid anymore.
No. So they got to do something. All right, let's go in and call.
Was it crab legs?
No. No, I don't even know what it was, but 2 players were arrested, so.
Bear claws.
Let's hope not.
Hello?
Joel.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
I'm great, man. You got me loud and clear?
I do, but I don't have video.
Okay. I'm trying to see if there's any way I can fix that.
Okay. There should be a little icon down at the bottom of the screen that shows a video camera, and you should be able to do it that way.
Okay. Let's see.
There we go, bud. All right, we're doing good. So first off, if you would, tell everybody who you are and what you do over in Starkville.
I'm the Mississippi State beat writer for the Starkville Daily News.
Okay.
I've been doing that for a little over about 2.5 years now. I guess I've been doing it, and I actually had kind of helped out on the MSU beat prior to that several years ago and things, and used to actually work in the athletic department and things as a grad assistant and then an intern and stuff. So I've kind of been around Mississippi State athletics, I guess, well, really my whole life, to be honest with you, but then going to school and then getting out of school and stuff. But right now, covering state for the Starkville Daily News, and also works on the Bulldogs, been mostly a baseball show, although I'll pop in on other shows from time to time. But usually you can find my work either on StarkvilleDailyNews.com or pick up a paper if you're in town, or especially during baseball season, the Bulldog Sports Radio app. But I'm kind of everywhere. Jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing.
I got you. Well, Bud, how excited are you for football in Starkville coming up here in just a few weeks?
Man, I tell you, it's really seemed like this summer there hadn't been a summer with practice starting a week earlier and stuff. So, and with that, I mean, yeah, there's a ton of excitement, and especially now because camp seems so long. This year when it started in July, and then the first game's not until September the 2nd, I guess it would be. So I'm really anxious to see actual football. I feel like now, with being 1st of August, mid-August now, I feel like we've been talking about football already for a month since, SEC Media Day back in July. And so here we are now 2 or 3 weeks in talking to these guys, and they're excited, and coaches are excited. Of course, all of us that cover sports for a living, we love football, so we're ready to see some games. So we're all excited. We're just kind of chomping at the bit. But then you look at that calendar and see that you're still 2 or 3 weeks away, and so that's kind of depressing. But, yeah, I think we're all, you included, Stingray, I think we're all looking forward to seeing football.
Well, how do you see Mississippi State doing? Obviously, Nick Fitzgerald coming back, but Mississippi State did lose a lot of skilled positions, and especially on the wide receiving core. How do you see the wide receivers performing this season?
I feel like that even last year, I feel like receiver is a strength for State.
Yes.
I know that they lost Fred Ross, which is, a humongous loss, and the guy that more often than not, Nick Fitzgerald was looking to get the ball to. But, I mean, there are plenty of guys that can step up into those roles. I mean, Donald Gray, we've seen all along the kind of impact player he can be. He has the strongest hands on the team. You hear the coaches talk about how if it's anywhere in the vicinity, Donald Gray can catch the ball. We've seen that time and time again. He's been kind of a walking highlight reel since he's been in Starkville and things. So we know he can make the spectacular catch and stuff. But the question with Donald is he's always been in that supporting role. Mm-hmm. Whether it was a few years ago, you had Durunya, and then Fred Ross, and now though Donald Gray has to be kind of, I guess, the lead dog, so to speak. But there again, though, there's not just a ton of pressure. It's not all. I mean, I think people have high expectations for Keith Mixon to step into a bigger role with the receiving core. I think people have high expectations for Jamal Couch to take a bigger role, and of course he's a big-bodied receiver that I think is going to be, a great target for Nick Fitzgerald, maybe down inside the red zone and things. Gabe Miles, another guy who had kind of a down season last year, but he's a guy that has a great head on his shoulders that I think is going to bounce back in a big way. And from all that we've heard from coaches and everybody else, he's had a pretty good camp so far. So I think that the receiving core is going to be just fine. And you may have going to be asking me about this anyway, but I think State's O-line is in good shape, which bodes well for every bit of the offense in general. With Martinez Rankin at left tackle and Elton Jenkins kind of settled in at center. I feel like that the offensive line is going to be better. Really, the only humongous, I guess, question about the line is at right tackle is going to be Stuart Reese. It's going to be Greg Allen. So you're going to have some inexperience at right tackle, but you're going to have a lot of guys there that have a lot of playing time. And guys like, Rankin that may go high in the NFL draft come spring. So I think it's going to be a solid group that's going to give the receivers and the entire offense, a little bit of time to shine.
I got you. Well, I should have started with this question first off. What are you hearing about the incident that happened over the weekend with the talented running back out of Columbus getting a ticket for, or actually I should say being arrested for reckless driving? What are you hearing about that, and what kind of punishment do you think we could see from Coach Mullen?
Well, I guess it was Thursday afternoon when Kylan Hill was arrested. I learned of it late Thursday night.
Okay.
But it was Thursday afternoon around 4:45. Kylan was talking with the Highway Patrol. Kylan was driving over 120 miles an hour down Highway 82 near Starkville, and was pulled over and arrested and things, of course, bonded out and stuff. He was actually, we got to go to practice on Friday, and Kylan was practicing, so he missed no practice time or anything like that. And we actually talked to Dan Mullen later on Friday, and Dan was asked the question if Kylan would face any further punishment, and Dan said no, that he's gonna face a hefty fine and all the other things that go with the legal ramifications of driving over 120 miles an hour. But Dan gave no indication that there's going to be at least any public punishment. I would guess, if I was a betting man, that there were probably some words exchanged, and there may have been, who knows, a little bit of extra running at practice or something. I don't know what, but nothing public was made of any extra punishment for Kylan. And as far as any suspension or anything, I don't. That's not going to be made public, as Dan said. The only thing that's going to be done is his fine and whatnot. But I don't know. You talk to the other running backs, and we talked to Dontavian Lee yesterday, and he said he wouldn't be shocked at all if Kylan Hill played this year. But then again, you think about it, and as talented as Kylan is there really a need for him to play this year?
Right.
With Aries, Williams going to take the brunt of the carries and things, and there's three veterans behind him with Dontavian Lee and Nick Gibson and Alec Murphy. Do you want to run Kylan out there? Do you want to redshirt him and then know that you have him for 4 more years? So I don't know if there'll be a need for Kylan. So he may not have played in those first game or two anyway.
Right.
But then again, he might. He's got all the physical tools and skills, and of course I think he's the highest rated running back that State's had since Jarius Norwood, I believe. So it's going to be really interesting to see how good he can become, but I don't think we'll really have that answer this year as long as Aries Williams stays healthy.
Okay.
Hi, this is Brian, Stingray's co-host. How are you doing today?
Doing great, Brian. Good to be with you guys.
What do you think? I saw a publication on social media the other day, an article that said that Nick Fitzgerald could be a sleeper Heisman candidate. How do you feel about that? I know he's just a junior. Do you feel like he's ready for that type of spotlight?
We heard that talk about another Mississippi State quarterback back in 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That one Dak Prescott might be a sleeper Heisman candidate. Lo and behold, that's kind of what happened. Look, would it surprise me? I mean, you look at what Nick did last year, leading the SEC in total yardage and things. So it's not that great of a jump to think that statistically, he could be right up there with anybody. Now, to do that, I think he's going to have to improve in the passing game, which we've heard that he has done that this summer. And of course, I mean, some of that's just going to come with being more comfortable in his own skin. I mean, he is the leader of this offense now. I don't think there's any question. Last year, for the first half of the year, there was some, I mean, even amongst the fan base, there was, in the first 2 or 3 games of the year, is it Fitzgerald, is it Damian Williams, while we didn't really hear anything specifically from the locker room, you wonder how much in the locker room, how was there any division there? I don't want to speculate too much there, but by the end of the year, Nick Fitzgerald was the guy. There was no question. And then coming into this year, there's no competition. Nick Fitzgerald is the guy. Everybody's bought in. I think that helps. I think as far as can he be a Heisman candidate, a lot of it depends on him and his production and his improvement in the passing game. We know what he can do in the running game. But a lot of it depends on Mississippi State's defense, and can their defense keep them in games to win games? Because no matter how good he is statistically, if State is a 6-6 football team, he's not winning the Heisman Trophy. He's not going to be in the discussion for the Heisman Trophy at 6-6. So, we all know that the Heisman, granted, it is an individual award, but it's tough for anyone to win the Heisman if you're a mediocre football team. So I think a lot depends on more than just Nick. But talent-wise, it wouldn't be a total shock to see his statistics taking a bigger leap forward, because we know what he can do running the ball, and you would have to expect that he's going to be a little bit better and more comfortable in the passing game. And we've already mentioned the O-line will probably allow him to be a little bit better.
And that was actually going to be my next question about the defense. He, for the most part, I felt like Fitzgerald did his part. Now, Stingray and I were there to witness the 6 picks of the spring game. Now, that wasn't good, but hopefully that's just an aberration. But they gave up 35 to UMass, 38 to Auburn, which probably should have been worse, even though we don't want to admit it. I think it was 31 at halftime. 40 to Kentucky in a loss, 41 to Stanford, 28 to A&M, even though y'all won that game. Then they gave up 51 to Alabama and 58 to Arkansas. You don't want to give up that many points, do you?
No, you're not going to get real far doing that. You mentioned that spring game. I remember Nick said after the spring game, as long as he's throwing picks to his own defense, that kind of encourages him a little bit, because that means, that's his own defense making those plays, so maybe they'll make it for him come this fall, too.
Yeah, he was starting to look a little bit like Jay Cutler out there.
Yeah, I know. Jay Cutler thought he was going to get a break this year. Now he's going to be out there, slinging the ball around again, apparently. Yeah. So I'm a Dolphins fan, so go
okay.
Jay Cutler.
Okay.
But no, I think that the defense this year is the biggest, component of this Mississippi State team. I think offensively they're going to be okay, with Nick and with Aries, and like we've already talked about the wide receivers. I think offensively this offense, as most Dan Mullen offenses have, are going to put up points. Can Todd Grantham, limit and hopefully, for State fans, more than just limit, but significantly improve upon what Peter Sermon did last year? Because, you just look last year, if State defensively was just a little stouter, maybe, no telling how much better of a season that could have been last year. But it seems like everyone has kind of bought in. All these, we don't get to talk to any of the JUCO guys that have come in and things, but we're hearing, great things about Jonathan Abram and Chauncey Rivers and some of those guys. And of course, this team, say what you will about Peter Sermon, but they kind of used to being in the 3-4 last year a good bit. And of course, Grantham is a 3-4 coach, so I think that having another year kind of with that system is going to help. And so, we'll see. But from all indications at this point, State's defense, fast, physical, aggressive. We've heard that since Todd Grantham was hired, and it really does seem like they have a refreshed mindset. And we've heard good things about the defense. Now, is it all talk? I guess we'll see here in a month. But at this point, they're saying all the right things, and it really does seem like State should be a much improved defense. Todd Grantham the other day was talking about how he was happy with their progression and things, and he's pretty much a shoot you straight kind of coach. So I don't think he would, fill us full of too much fluff, and he seems to be pretty pleased with where they're at right now. So I think that bodes well for State. And if this team is stout defensively, look out, because I'm not, proclaiming that this is going to be another 2014 where State rises to number 1 in the nation. I guess it could be. I'm not, weirder things maybe have happened. But I do think this could be a much better year than what people think if Grantham does what he could do. And so if State's defense can figure things out, those JUCO guys are the impact pieces State hopes they are. And guys like, don't forget Talando Cleveland's back for the corners, and Jamal Peters is going to have another, off-season working at corner and things. So State's pass defense, which was its leaky point last year, should be a lot better. And, it really could be a special year if Grantham can figure out the defense. Right now they're saying all the right things, and we'll see here in a month or so if their actions on the field back up all the talk.
Has a player ever threw for 2,000 yards and rushed for 2,000? Because, hey, Fitzgerald, if he keeps getting better, he was only 505 yards away rushing. Ooh, that's a lot of yards.
last year he did a lot of things as far as I think it was rushing for over 100, throwing up 300 a couple times or something like that. I can't remember now what all the records were and stuff, and I don't have the media guide or his thing, his bio pulled up in front of me to say. Mm-hmm. You'd have to ask somebody that has, I guess, more of an almanac in their brain of the past that to be sure. Google it or Google it real quick, but I think I could safely say that it's something that hadn't happened a whole lot if it's ever happened before. So, but I mean, yeah, he's definitely a guy that could do it. The only thing that I think might hinder a little bit some of his numbers this year is I do think that with Aries, his emergence toward the end of last year, I think Aries rushed for 190 something yards in the Egg Bowl last year, and you do wonder if Aries can be that effective running the football, they're going to want to get Aries Williams the ball a lot more too. So you're kind of dividing up those carries a little bit more, which is good for State's offense. To have more of a balanced attack, never know who's carrying the ball. Defenses can't zero in on fit. So, but it may take away some of his rushing yards just because you have an Aries Williams taking up so much of the slack.
I got you. Well, man, I'm gonna put you on the spot here for just a second. How do you see Mississippi State finishing the season? What will their record be at the end of this year?
I was asked that question just the other day, and best guess, I believe I said was going to be 8-4 at the end of the regular season with losses to LSU, Georgia, Auburn, and Bama. Georgia's a little bit of a wild card there. Some people are high on, some people aren't. But being in Athens, I think that's going to be a tough test for State. LSU's always a tough test, and of course Auburn has a chance to be really good. Bama's Bama. So 4 losses that I kind of begged, and so if you made me pick right here today, I would say 8-4, and then of course that gets you to a bowl game, and you can't really project a bowl game. You never know who you're facing in a potential bowl game. So I feel like State is probably an 8-win team, which is a couple wins better, really, than a lot of folks have them at. I think it was USA Today had pegged them as a 6-6 team yesterday or so when I saw that. So I think they're a little better than that. I really do. And of course, here I am too. I get sometimes pegged for being a sunshine pumper, and we probably are a little bit. We see these guys every day and hear them talk and kind of build it up. So maybe I do get a little more, lean towards them being better than they are. So maybe if you want to knock that down to a 7-5 team, I couldn't hate on that too much. But if you made me pick today, I would say 8-4.
I got you. And finally, how bad do you think the sanctions are going to hurt Ole Miss?
Oh man, they're already hurting them before they even come out. I think that judging by 24/7's recruiting rankings, I think they're already down in the 90s. I think you might have to double check that, but I believe the other day it was down a whole long way, and so just the looming cloud that's been over that program, it's going to hurt a ton. I actually think for Ole Miss, it's going to be good for Ole Miss to hear, and there's been reports that the Committee on Infractions hearing and things going to be next month. It's going to be good for Ole Miss to have that and get it over with, and in that way, everybody that wants to go to Ole Miss, or of course they'll have to do a coaching search and everything else, they'll know what they're getting into, kind of thing. Right now, there's been that uncertainty surrounding that program for so long. That probably just knowing what the punishment's going to be is going to be good for them, but it's going to hurt, no question. I mean, I don't claim to be any kind of expert on all that, but I mean, just outside looking in, they've already imposed 1-year bowl ban, and it wouldn't be a shock if they throw that 2nd-year bowl ban on there, and then you have players just max exodus out of Oxford.
Oh yeah.
With with a 2nd-year bowl ban, they can leave with no having to sit out a year kind of thing. So that's what Ole Miss has to be banking on right now. So they have to be hoping they don't get that 2nd-year bowl ban, so that players don't flood out of there. And I don't know. We're going to see. But it's really, trying to look at it objectively, it's an opportunity for Mississippi State right now to really rise to the forefront in this state. And, can they do it? We'll see. I mean, they should right now be winning most, if not every, recruiting battle in this state over Ole Miss. So it's a humongous opportunity for Mississippi State to take advantage of what's happening up there. And I guess it's like everything else. I hate to leave it hanging, but we'll see if they can. But they have every opportunity to do so right now.
Yep. I got you. All right, buddy. Well, thank you for your time. And real quick, before we let you go, is there anything that you would like to preview or plug, like how we can find you and some stories that you may be doing here coming up in the newspaper?
Yeah, sure. Anybody can log on to StarkvilleDailyNews.com every day. There should be a little bit of content for me pretty much every day on there on StarkvilleDailyNews.com. In fact, today, I believe if you log on there today, I just wrote a little piece on Leo Lewis and Todd Grantham's thoughts on Leo and what he kind of sees out of him this year. And coming up tomorrow on the Starkville Daily News, and should be on our website tomorrow, talk to Alec Murphy, one of the backup running backs and things. Really good guy, and just kind of a little bit of his story. And his grandfather was one of the big reasons he came to Mississippi State. He wanted to come back to Mississippi and be around him, all of his family ties to Mississippi. And his grandfather actually passed away earlier this year. And so we talked a little bit about his grandfather's impact on him coming to state and stuff, and how that'll affect Alec this year as he, probably takes on a little bit larger role than he's had in state. He's kind of played some on special teams, but he may get some carries this year. And just kind of an interesting little talk that I had with Alec yesterday, and I'm going to share some of that tomorrow, and that'll be on StarkvilleDailyNews.com. Of course, if you're in the Starkville area, pick up a paper. It'll be there too at any of the places that you get your paper. So anyway, StarkvilleDailyNews.com is probably the best place to find me. You can also get me on Twitter at Joel T. Coleman.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you for your time. And yeah, Hail State, bud, and we will definitely do this again, okay?
All right, Stingray.
Thank you so
You
much.
guys have a good
Okay.
day.
All right, y'all too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Brian, how was that?
It's good. We got a lot of insight on
Mississippi State. And here, I think what we're going to have to do, we're running late again, so what we're going to have to do is go talk South Carolina.
All right.
And after we talk South Carolina, then we will come back and do your and my previews of both teams.
Sure.
And going ahead, so what we're going to do is first, we're going to get all the interviews out of the way, and then you and I are going to discuss both teams.
Okay.
Sound like a plan to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so next we are going to talk with Chris Stanley from Garnet and Black Attack on Twitter, and they feature South Carolina stuff. And South Carolina's moving into year number 2 under Will Muschamp.
Yes,
and
they were kind of a surprise last season. Nobody expected them to make a bowl.
And nobody expected them to beat Tennessee either.
No.
That was pretty much the end of the gravy train for Butch Jones last year.
Yeah, don't let anybody beating Tennessee surprise you though.
Yeah, but last year it did really surprise me. All right, so let's go on ahead and call Chris and see about the Gamecock Nation up there. And he's not answering. Chris.
What's up, Stingray?
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm swell, sir. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
Thank you, man. Do you have video?
I do.
We only see a chicken.
Yeah, we only see, hold on. Hey, there we go.
But boys,
Thank you.
Hello.
Well, listen, real quick, while we have you here, briefly tell us who you are and what you do for South Carolina, please.
well, I guess first and foremost, I'm a 2014 graduate of the University of South Carolina, and I'm the co-manager of SB Nation South Carolina blog, Garnet and Black Attack, which you can find at garnetbblackattack.com and at Gabba on Twitter. We are one of the 14 SEC blogs over at SB Nation, and we do our best to try and provide the most interesting South Carolina coverage there is on the web, because it is very competitive down there in Columbia.
I got you. Well, man, how excited are you guys for football? I believe we are 25 or 24 days away from college football. Are y'all getting excited?
More than excited, man.
Yes.
It's kind of hard to flap the South Carolina fan base. I mean, this is the same group of people who put, I think, 80,000 people in the stadium for an 0-10 team back in '99. So this is a fan base that stays excited no matter what the expectations.
Yes. And what are the expectations coming into year 2 now under Will Muschamp?
My fear from the fan base is that they might be a little bit too inflated. Right. I was listening to y'all talk earlier. I mean, I think everybody was surprised to see South Carolina go 6-6, especially after the 3-9 2015 debacle. In my opinion, and I think a lot of other higher college football minds would share this, this is a team that overachieved last year. I think this was a 4-win, talent team that ran into some turnovers luck, especially against Tennessee and ECU, and kind of fell into 6-6. Not to knock the talent, it's there, but it's very young. And I'm afraid that fans, will overlook something like that and expect something around 8 or 9 wins, when I think this is still really a 6-win kind of talent team.
Yes, I got you. Well, when you talk about the quarterback position, obviously you guys have a returning guy. But other than that, what other pieces should we look for on the offensive side of the ball?
Well, I think that South Carolina has one of the 15 best receiving groups, when you include wide receivers and tight ends, in the country. And it starts with Deebo Samuel. He's going to be a junior this year. One of these quick speedster guys, 5'11", comes quick in and out of breaks, is a home run threat in the passing game, as well as an intermediate threat, because he's so good at getting out of that cut on crossing routes. South Carolina also uses him in the return game, as well as using him on jet sweeps too. So he's a very versatile weapon. Right. And you pair him with Brian Edwards, big body, 6'3", was a freshman last year. He's going to come back, I think, stronger as a sophomore. Really made some great acrobatic catches last year. You compare him to Alshon Jeffrey, I think, in terms of a guy who can throw up and he'll just go get it. He will erase accuracy mistakes. And then there's Hayden Hurst, big tight end, 6'5", 250. Runs like a deer, is a huge target, as a defensive matchup nightmare, because he's too quick and big for linebackers and too powerful for defensive backs. And he really came on strong last year, and I think when you pair those three, that's as good of a core as you can have for a sophomore quarterback like Jake Bentley, who's still trying to learn things.
Right.
What did you think about this? This is Stingray's co-host Brian. What did you think about Bentley coming out of high school and then starting half the season? It seemed like you guys really turned it around, especially that 3-game losing streak, when it looked like you guys may be headed towards another 3-4 win season. And Bentley kind of took the reins and turned it around. I think that Tennessee win changed the momentum of you guys' entire season last year.
Well, Tennessee win was definitely the turning point. I think you're right, because I certainly didn't expect us to beat Tennessee. And I remember whenever they made the decision to tear the red shirt off Jake Bentley, I wasn't so wild about it, because, he was supposed to be a senior in high school. And, we already had, which I don't think the greater populace knows, we had another All-American high school quarterback named Brandon McElwain, who we were trying to work into the fold, along with Perry Orth, who was kind of the walk-on journeyman senior. And neither of them were really working out. And, as talented as Bentley was, I wasn't real wild about having to tear the red shirt off of him so quick. But in that game against UMass, he was making throws and standing in the pocket and making decisions you just don't see from freshmen. And, I can sound like I'm inflating him because I'm a fan, but I really am trying to speak as objectively as possible when I say Jake Bentley is not your garden variety quarterback. This kid does special things that you see from a true, drop back pocket passer. And those traits were exhibited very early on. And, clearly the coaching staff knows more than I do. And I think South Carolina is set up at least for the next 2 years.
Whatever happened to Connor Mitch? Did he transfer when he transferred when Muschamp came in? Is that correct?
That's correct. And, I covered the team, when I was in school, too. Connor Mitch was a highly recruited kid out of Raleigh. I think it was Raleigh, North Carolina, 4-star guy. And, I can't disclose a whole lot because it's not properly sourced. It's all kind of back channel information. But, I heard from multiple people within the athletics department that he was a guy that constantly had to have his leash pulled. He was a guy the coaching staff had to nudge kind of along. Didn't ever seem like he really bought in, to kind of, grasping the role of being a starting quarterback, which is disappointing, because he was a really talented guy. And those first 2 games in 2015, he looked dreadful against North Carolina and even worse against Kentucky. He wound up getting injured. And, after, kind of stringing along there his first 3 years, he said peace, and I believe he's at Richmond now, if I'm not mistaken.
I got you. Well, how do you see South Carolina doing in the first game against NC State?
Oh, boy.
That's going to be tough.
Man. You did that? Man, that is such a big anxiety game for both fan bases. I think more so for South Carolina because, if you lose to NC State, it's really hard to find 6 wins those next 11 games. And I think a lot's been made about NC State's defensive line, and I think rightly so, because they've got 4 really strong guys up front. And of them all, Bradley Chubb looks to be like an All-American type edge defender. And South Carolina, their weak point in the offense last year was the offensive line. And we have a guy named Bill Connolly over at SB Nation who tracks all of our metrics, and I believe the offensive line was ranked somewhere in the 1-teens in terms of production. So we're going to find out really quick if that offensive line's improved, and if they haven't, Jake Bentley could be on his butt, as far as misspoke there, a lot in that game, and that game will set the tone, I believe, for the rest of the season. But, very anxious about that one.
All right, and I've got 2 more questions for you. One is, I'm going to put you on the spot here. At the end of the season, before the bowl game, what record would you give South Carolina overall?
I think they're a 6-6 type team again, Steven.
Okay.
If you look at just going down the schedule, even if they do lose to NC State, I think you can pick up a win at Missouri. I think, as much as it pains and sickens me to say this, we can snap the 3-game losing streak to Kentucky this year. Louisiana Tech should be a win. I think Arkansas is still a winnable game. Vanderbilt and Wofford as well. So, if you can win those games and try to flip another one, I think 6-6 is still in the cards. And, even if you go 5-7, you can still make a bowl now with the APR, as Mississippi State fans know from last year. So I think somewhere in that range, and I think they'll be improved from last year, even if the record doesn't show it.
I got you. And finally, you had one?
Yeah. What were you going to ask?
Who's going to win the East?
Who's going to win the East? Go ahead.
Okay. And finally, Chris, who do you have winning the East over there? Are you leaning towards Georgia or Florida?
Ooh, boy. If you put a gun to my head, I'm going to say Georgia, just because of the defense. I think they've got, 10 guys coming back on that defense. You've probably got a couple of NFL players thrown in there as well. Florida loses a lot off that defense, and Jim McElwain still hasn't proven that he can throw together some semblance of an offense, and their quarterback position is still a question mark. At least at Georgia, you have Sony Michel and Nick Chubb. who can run the ball, and Jacob Eason should be improved after an up-and-down freshman year. While I don't think the gap between those two teams is very large, I'll take Georgia to win the East.
And lastly, Chris, is Steve Tannehill still a legend at South Carolina?
He absolutely is still a legend. And
it's the hair, isn't it?
You know what sucks is he's underappreciated in South Carolina lore. I mean, he's not talked about enough. But he wasn't just a mullet, man. He was a mullet who could throw the ball really well. And I don't think a lot of fans outside of South Carolina know this. He's also a highly revered high school coach right now in the state who wins state titles. And he just bought up one of the most famous bars in downtown Columbia. So he's just – the legend lives, man. It lived.
Awesome.
Long live the mullet.
Well, that's awesome, buddy. Well, thank you for your time. And before we let you go, is there anything that you guys would like to preview, and how we can find you on Twitter? And, of course, anything at the Garnet and Black on Twitter?
Oh, yeah, you can follow us at GABA on Twitter. We have a bunch of good preseason stuff coming out right now on GarnetBlackAttack.com. We don't just cover South Carolina football. We like to dip our toes in the entire SEC as well.
Okay.
So if you love SEC football, go on over there. We just hired a bunch of new writers. So we're really excited about the content that we can push out this year.
What about the basketball team now? We almost forgot to ask you about that. How are you feeling about Frank Martin?
Man, I can't really put it into words what I felt this past February whenever we went on, or I should say March, when we went on that run. And that's that caught lightning in a bottle because Sindarius Thornwell and PJ Dozier, those two players, don't just come every year. And it'll be interesting to see if they can get back to the postseason because they've got a lot to replace. Yeah. And I'm surprised you haven't brought up the beef that we have right now in women's basketball.
Yeah, I was about to ask y'all are the title holders in women's. So, but State took down UConn for you, so you gotta kind of give a hand to this.
He
did what nobody else.
He scared the piss out of me in the SEC championship, man. That was not cool.
Yes.
They did the dirty work that nobody else wanted to do.
That was incredible. I mean, it really was. That whole UConn experience. I watched it from start to finish. That was great.
I got you. And I just have to throw this out there as well. How do you guys see Clemson doing this year now that they don't have Deshaun Watson? I'm hearing that they might drop off a little bit. Do you see that as well?
When you say drop off, you mean just a tad, because that's what I'm seeing.
Right.
What's going on at Clemson, I mean, for South Carolina fans, it's depressing, but it should be interesting for the rest of the country because they are turning, I don't want to say like Alabama, but I mean, they're recruiting at a level that's unprecedented for that program where, you don't rebuild, you just kind of replace with the talent that they have coming in. And, they very well could go 10-2 this year if everything breaks right for them. Because the quarterback they have there, Kelly Bryant, actually went to my high school. I've gone and watched him in person. The kid's as good as you'll find in the country. And they're still loaded in the skill positions. They still have a great defense. And, they're playing in the ACC, and we're SEC guys. We know they're not going to get tested week after week after week, but they're still good enough to hang with the Florida States, the Louisvilles, the Virginia Techs. And, 9-3, 8-4, I think, is their floor.
Right, okay.
And I see the Houston Texans poster over your shoulder. So Deshaun's on your side now after he tormented you.
And DeAndre Hopkins, man. I can't get out of their way.
I got you. Well, man, thank you, of course, for your time. And since Mississippi State doesn't play y'all this year in football, Spurs up, baby.
Hey, ring that bell. I don't know what y'all say, but ring the bell, baby.
And Hail State. All right, man. Thank you for your time.
Stingray.
All right, thank you.
It.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Chris.
Keep doing what you do.
All right, thanks. Bye-bye. Man, that was awesome.
Very good interview.
All right, so
very good interview.
Let's go back to Mississippi State now that we've got all of the interviews done. And Well, first off, let's go back to last week for just a second, Brian, because you were not here last week, and we talked about LSU and we talked about Arkansas. Now, last week, I picked LSU 9-3, which is about what they did with Les Miles, and I picked Arkansas at 8-4. How do you see both Arkansas and LSU doing this year?
Either one could surprise me, but both teams just seem like, I don't know, whatever metaphor you want to use, are in quicksand or they're stuck in a ditch. So
Yes.
I don't see either team getting any worse. I don't see either team getting much better.
Right.
With LSU, I think it all depends on the quarterback position. I mean, it's really important that they get good quarterback play. They've not had that, and they didn't have that a lot of the time
With
under
Miles.
Miles.
Yeah.
I mean, the most productive quarterback was probably Mettenberger that he had, and so.
Other than the Matt Flynn era.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that was
but that was
early
long.
on,
That's been
yeah.
10 years. So yeah, it's in Jamarcus Russell
Yes.
until he got to the Raiders.
Right. That
Yeah,
was
that's
bad.
been a long time ago. So yeah, I wasn't even thinking that far back. But yeah, I mean,
Guys is going to be good, but they lose a lot at wide receiver now that they could potentially open up that offense.
I mean, if Etling comes out and doesn't start playing well, and I'm or Jerron,
Yeah.
I say okay. I think they brought a new guy in. They've got a young guy. I forget what's his name here. Miles Brennan.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I go ahead and bite the bullet. I'm like, you hired me. I'm a Louisiana boy. I know I've got a few years. Let's go ahead and develop a guy. Let's
Yes.
take our lumps now. Maybe Nick Saban will retire in 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
And then Brennan will be ready. I don't know what, but you can't keep right. Danny Etling is just like, Lee that they had, Andrew Hatch.
Yes.
What was his name? First name, something Lee. He was on 08, 09. It's like one of those quarterbacks that Jefferson, where they just couldn't really.
Yeah.
They had a great defense, good run game, but just couldn't do anything through the air. And I think you have to. You have to be able to get the ball down the field.
Right. But they're really lacking on wide receiver. They've only got one starter coming back in Chalk.
Yeah, and I'm
that
not that aware of
hurts.
who he is 100%. I mean,
DJ.
he's only got 144 total yards.
Yeah.
receiving.
So he's so they're going to be really young at that position there, and we know they're going to have good running back play. But like you were saying, when you play a good team like Alabama or Florida, you've got to be able to do. You have got to be able to do. Both run and pass, and two-dimensional. You can't just run.
And let me correct myself there. DJ Chalk had 144 yards rushing. He had 466 receiving, but I'm not.
Yeah.
It's not a household name. It's not
No,
Malachi Dupree.
right.
Malachi Dupree's gone.
Or Odell Beckham.
Yeah, Odell Beckham, not one of those guys. So seems like they're gonna, if they don't get consistent quarterback play, they're gonna end up depending a lot on Darius Geis. And we all know how that went with Fournette.
And I don't know if Geis is smaller. Geis is smaller than Fournette, and I don't think he can be an every down back going 20, 30 yards or 30 rushes a game. Do you?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's really good, but I think he's better receiving. I think he's a little quicker laterally than Fournette, but he's not the bruiser.
No.
And
he's not going to run over somebody.
He needs to split the carries with someone, but I guarantee you LSU's going to run him 30, 35 times a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way they're set up. I see 8-4.
Again, just like last year,
yes. I see losses to...
And coming to Tuscaloosa is going to be brutal. I mean, that's just going to be brutal.
I see a loss in the swamp at Florida, and that could be their first. Now, I know we talk Mississippi State. I would. It's unstartable. It depends on what Mississippi State defense shows up.
What about BYU?
They'll beat BYU.
You think so?
I do.
Okay.
I do. if they drop that one, things are going to go
Ooh,
south
yes.
quick. But yeah, BYU and Houston, I think they'll get that one. At Mississippi State, if Mississippi State comes out with the same defense they had last year, there's no way that Geis will have 300 yards.
Yeah.
Didn't he last year?
No.
Fournette might.
No, it was a pretty close game last year. It was 23-20.
State came back.
Yeah.
And, Syracuse, they've got that one. Troy, home. The first loss could be at Florida, and if that is, then, there's going to be a feel-good, approach to the beginning of the Orgeron era. Auburn in Baton Rouge, that's a toss-up. I'm going to give them a loss. I'm going to give them 2 losses in a row there. At Bama, I think a loss. Which that's one of those that I'm starting to get nervous about because it's going to happen eventually. They're big rivals. You can come back in November. Do not be surprised if Bama drops that game. And I hate saying that, and it would ruin my entire weekend because I will be in the Gulf Shores at Oyster Fest that weekend. So yes, that would really ruin my weekend. I would just eat more oysters.
That would not be good.
Yeah.
I hate oysters
I
anyway.
love oysters. Stingray doesn't like oysters, but it's a raw oyster festival they're having the first weekend in November at Gulf Shores at the Hangout. So if any of you guys don't know about that, I'm giving you a free plug, the Oyster Festival. Please give me free tickets. I'll look for them in the mail.
That'd be awesome.
I also seen them. Let's just put it this way. I'll give them LSU losing to Florida, Auburn, Bama, and either State or A&M. I think they'll be 8-4.
I think they have a better chance of losing to Mississippi State than they do.
4-4 in the SEC.
I think they have a better chance of, because A&M has not beaten them since they got into the league.
That depends on if A&M's got a coach or not on Thanksgiving weekend. So,
yeah.
I mean, things change. I mean, this is going to be. When I look down the schedule and Stingray, wants us to name a record,
right?
A lot of these picks are. I look down the schedule and I pick. Here's a loss. Here's a loss. Here's a loss. I mean,
but
it's really subjective. Injuries happen. Coaches get fired. Players regress, and then we may get to the Auburn game, and Auburn may not be having a good year, and I say. When we pick our weekly picks, I'll take LSU. When right now I'm saying I think Auburn will beat them. Right.
I got you. All right. Well, what about Arkansas? Because we did Arkansas last week as well.
I don't think Arkansas is going anywhere fast.
Yeah, I mean, and they're stuck in the mud pretty much because Brett Bielema's offense just cannot get it together in the SEC. Don't you agree?
Yeah. In one game, Arkansas is going to be one of the teams to. They start their season on a Thursday night. I caught myself. That is not opening weekend. There are actually a few games. I think there's one over Australia.
Yes.
Or somewhere the last weekend of August. Aren't you just ready for football no matter who it is?
I'm saying.
I'd get up in the morning. That game's probably going to. I don't.
In Australia, it's going to be
10
o'clock our time p.m.
Are you going to stay up and watch?
Oh yeah, of course.
It's football, man.
Yes.
The Cowboys were on the other day in preseason. It's just great to watch football.
Yes.
I think Arkansas is going to drop their first one to TCU.
Yeah.
They'll lose that game. Then, A&M and Arlington.
Yeah, and those games have always been close, but they never can actually get over the hump there.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. A&M always gets hot early.
Yeah.
Cools off late. They're going to lose that one. They're going to be 1-2.
Right.
They're going to beat New Mexico State. Beat
course.
South Carolina. They're going to be 3-2. Lost to Bama. Lost to Auburn. They're going to be 3-4. Ole Miss win.
Yeah. Oh God. Yes.
5-4. LSU loss. I got Arkansas at 6-6.
And Bielema might
They will have to win the last game against Missouri to go bowl. Unless they upset someone.
And, Bielema could be going with there because look at his records down there. It's not been that good.
Yeah, they're perennial 6-6,
right.
7-5 teams. And like I said, I don't think they change. You're going to have to surprise me. It's going to have to be one of those breakout years where they just come out of the gate, beat TCU, beat A&M, beat South Carolina, and start like 5-0, something South Carolina hasn't done in a long time, going into the Bama game. If they're undefeated going into the Bama game, I'll say, all right, I'm a believer now. BM has finally got it turned around, but I don't think they will be.
All right, bud.
And then Sumlin's probably out of a job too.
Yeah.
Sumlin's he's walking on eggs.
Oh yes, very much so.
Walking on eggshells.
Well, now let's start with the Bulldogs now, the two teams that we talked about today. And if you missed any of these shows, you can also go back and watch them on MSUStingray.com.
MSUStingray.com. Yes.
And
don't forget it.
And you want to tell the viewers a little bit about that real quick? What MSU Stingray is?
Well, the MSU Stingray website has been up for a while, but we've kind of been working on it. It's been in the works. All of Stingray's rants are on there. It's the easiest place to see them, easier than YouTube. Just type in www.msustingray.com. He's got his 14, 15, and 16 rants on there. We're working on a new thing called the Bulldog Flashbacks. There's some snippets of some that are in the works up right now on there, so you'll be able to go and see those if you go under Bulldog Flashbacks. And I think y'all will really like those in the future once we get the full-length flashbacks produced. So that'll just give you a feel for what they're going to be like. And also, you can see all about Stingray. You can read the Stingray story, which a lot of people, if you're curious about that, Stingray Out of Water.
Yeah.
It's the name of it, and it kind of gives you a short idea of where Stingray, how he became a Mississippi State fan, and all of that. And also, what else do we have on there? You can join our mailing list.
Right.
You can join our mailing list in the fall. It'll probably come out the very last week of this month. We're going to start doing monthly newsletters. So go and sign up, get on our mailing list, and we'll send you emails about what's going on, where we're going to be, because we're planning on starting doing some on location.
Yes.
Once a month, maybe twice a month. We like to do them as much as we can. Some on location shows this fall, just to get people in the football spirit rather than sitting
in Starkville, Columbus, maybe some of your Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, exactly. So his fans all over the place. So maybe do some in Fayetteville.
Well, I don't know that far, but hey, Birmingham is a big possibility too.
Birmingham, there's a big MSU fan base in Birmingham.
All right, Brian. So let's go in and talk about Mississippi State now. And I think I'm going to start with Mississippi State. Obviously, coming out the gate, guys, we have Charleston Southern and Louisiana Tech, and I really hope Charleston Southern is a better outcome than what we had last year.
Don't let it be a South Alabama.
I know, that was so embarrassing.
Did you throw up after that game?
No.
Were you sick?
I was depressed a little bit, but no.
I was down in Dallas. I actually saw that happen from a place called the White Elephant Saloon. I was out of town that weekend.
For Alabama,
for Alabama USC. So I was in the stockyards, and I saw that, and I was like, man, I feel for Stingray right now.
Yes.
And I just knew he was hurting inside.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to start out with us going 2-0. Now the trip to Ruston is going to be really tough,
and that's especially not a fun drive. If any of y'all are going as fans, there's a lot of nothing. I mean, you almost have to go to Shreveport.
Yeah, and the last time we actually went to Louisiana Tech was with Sylvester Croom last year, and we lost. So that was a bad season. So
we started the Croom era with a loss to Maine and ended it with a loss to Louisiana Tech.
Pretty much, yeah. That was disappointing. All right, next up is LSU, and I'm going with the upset here. I think Mississippi State State gets it done at home, just because of the way that Nick Fitzgerald and Mississippi State played last year down in Tiger Stadium. They almost won. The score was 23-20. We made a great comeback, and I still think LSU, like we just talked about, going to be having some quarterback issues and trying to work out that offense. Coming to Starkville is not an easy place to play, cowbells included. I'm actually going with Mississippi State to get the upset there.
Okay.
How do you see that one?
Well, I just look at this whole stretch of to end September, and you don't have a bye week until after. You probably needed a bye week during that LSU at Georgia at Auburn stretch.
Yes.
It's just tough. I don't think you get out of that without a loss.
No.
I actually think I see two there. I don't know to who, no specific order. I'm not going to name it. I'm just going to say I see two losses there. Then if Nick Fitzgerald really comes into his own, the only other loss that I really and truly see, unless somebody's liable to sneak up and bite you in the ass. But Alabama, I could see this team, if the defense improves, Nick Fitzgerald has the same production he had last year, maybe a little bit improved in the passing game, improved from the spring game.
Yes.
And I can see 9-3, but I tend to be for State that 9-3, 8-4 window because I think the talent's there.
Yes.
The defense just really has to improve.
I mean, and we're gonna find out second weekend when we go to Louisiana Tech.
You saw Jalen Hurts in the national title game in the Washington game. He struggled in the passing game. State let him throw for 400 yards nearly.
Yes.
And so the defense, the secondary has to improve. It has to.
And we're going to find out a lot about the defense with Louisiana Tech because they have a lot of offensive weapons back, man. And they're going to be really good. And as a matter of fact, some people were talking about Louisiana Tech could win the conference that they are in. So that would be a really good test. Now,
but they're in the Conference USA.
Yeah. But still, I mean, I get what you're saying there.
Go UAB!
Yes, that's right. I'm actually going, the first loss is going to be at Georgia. I think Georgia is for real this year, and unfortunately, my first loss is going to be at Georgia. And then, of course, the biggest non-conference game this year is going to be the BYU game. How do you see BYU and Mississippi State faring? Because last year they played an outstanding game, but Mississippi State was on the losing end of that one.
I think Mississippi State beats them this year just because you lost at Provo last season. And I'm not overlooking them, though. You know, you go through the schedule, you can't because they're really good. And, you know, I'm giving State a win over them. I'm giving LSU a win over them. So they could sneak up and beat either one of those teams. But BYU always, since they've gone independent, plays a very tough schedule. They're not afraid to play anybody. And they play tough games week in and week out.
Oh, yeah. And I tell you another one that I'm really not looking forward to, and that's Kentucky for homecoming, Brian, because we are 1-3 when we schedule an SEC team for homecoming, and our last win against a homecoming opponent SEC-wise, 99. That hurts.
Why didn't y'all just make homecoming UMass?
I don't know. And that when you go 1-3 and your last homecoming win against a SEC team,
the alumni quit showing up.
Is 99. That's bad.
The alumni are going to quit showing up.
That's bad, man.
Homecoming.
Well, that's when we play SEC, though. Just when we play SEC. But
who did y'all play last year?
For homecoming, we had Samford, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
They gave y'all a good game. I heard Samford has a really good quarterback, and he's back again.
Right.
So, y'all don't have them on the schedule this year, though, thankfully.
Right. At A&M, we have never won at Kyle Field since they've been in the SEC. I'm going lost there.
You think y'all going to lose that? I think you'll beat them this year.
You think down there? You think so?
Yeah. And once again, Kevin Sumlin will be fired.
Where
he has to go undefeated, guys.
Right. when you say he keeps getting fired,
it's like you keep pointing. I keep pointing, and I was like, "Will this loss get him fired? Will this loss get him fired?" It's like he's a ticking time bomb. Which week is it going to be that he gets fired?
And it may be the first week when they go to Pasadena.
It's like there's never been anyone. I don't think they'll fire him out of the first game. If you're going to do that, you should have done fired him at the end of last year. But see, I think this is going to be the most. People are just hanging on the edge. So like, when is Sumlin going to get fired? What is it? Because I don't ever remember an AD coming out and just saying he has to win now. He has to win this year, or it basically was an or else.
Right.
Most times they're like, he's our guy. We're going to ride with him.
Yes.
And he did this over the summer.
But I'm telling you why, though. Let me tell you why. Because Texas got Herman. If they still had Charlie Strong, I guarantee you Sumlin would still be there. But
they need to go play them again. I hate that series.
Yes.
I used to watch that on Thanksgiving every year.
And but A&M would probably smoke them right now, though. Because Texas is just not that good, man.
They're going to get better, and they're going to get better fast.
Yes. So, and I was also seeing some publications had Mississippi State losing at Arkansas. I do not see that happening. Do you?
It's in Fayetteville. I mean, anything can happen, but
yes.
I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I don't like Arkansas finishing very strong this year.
Yeah.
They got over 6-6. So.
Yes.
Could I see it happening? Yeah, but I wouldn't predict it. Right now, as we sit, I wouldn't put money on it.
Right. So Mississippi State, I'm going with 8-4 this year. Actually, no.
10-2.
No, I'm going 9-3. Okay. I'm going 9-3.
We'll both agree 9-3, and a lot of people will probably mock us, but I can see State having a big year.
And there are some publications out there that say November the 11th could be an upset. And eventually that streak is going to have to end, man.
What publication says that? One you made up?
No. There was one actually I saw on the internet, and I'll share it with you on Facebook.
I'm just kidding with you.
Right, I know, but
it's all
okay.
streaks come to an end. I just don't know that one, because it's...
it's in Starkville, though.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I'm biased.
Oh, yeah. Alabama
for
won.
State for every game but that one.
Yes, I understand.
But,
so 9-3 would definitely be a really good year based on what we went last year was 6-7, and I'd be excited about that. How about you?
Yeah, that'll be good.
All right.
Y'all almost, State almost missed a bowl completely.
Yeah, I got you. Well, buddy, let's go ahead and talk now. South Carolina. How do you see them faring? And they have a tough game out of the gate here. Mississippi State has a cupcake. South Carolina does not. They get NC State, and some people were saying that NC State could be a sleeper team to actually make the ACC championship game this year.
Chris that was on with us said he don't see 6 wins if they lose to NC State.
Right.
I disagree with that, and
yeah.
I guess it's being a little bit optimistic, but anytime you're in the East, I see the possibility for 6 wins. We don't know what Mizzou team's gonna, show up. We don't know what Kentucky team's gonna show up. So I'll say a loss to NC State, but I could still see them pulling off a win over Mizzou, Kentucky, and Louisiana Tech.
Yes.
At A&M, that's a loss.
Yes. Unless someone.
Unless he's fired already. Yeah, I think he'll still be good by the end of September.
Right.
If he can't make it till the leaves fall.
That's bad.
That's cool. Arkansas loss.
Yeah.
So you're 3-3 at Tennessee. Tennessee gets them this year. That's 3-4.
I don't know.
Butch Jones still has a job.
I don't know, man.
Vandy, I'm gonna give them Vandy at homecoming 4-4. South Carolina's 5-7. No, I agree
No
with
bowl.
it.
No
well,
bowl.
the two of the non-conference games are Clemson and NC State. That's
Yes.
the problem. They're going to have to upset one or two teams.
Yeah. All right.
And, I don't know. I really don't know. So they're going to have to beat Tennessee again, probably. They're going to maybe have to beat Georgia or Florida.
Yes.
I call 5 and 7 for
Okay.
South Carolina just because with Clemson on the schedule, they really needed a cupcake to open the season. Clemson's already down there waiting. So, yeah, I don't think they do it.
I'm going win NC State,
Okay.
win at Missouri, loss to Kentucky, win Louisiana Tech, win at A&M because A&M struggles with defense. I'm going L at Arkansas, win at Tennessee, win at Vandy, loss to Georgia, loss to Florida, win at Clemson. Win at Wofford, lose to Clemson.
They're not winning at Clemson.
No.
It's
So-
at home.
So I have them 1, 2.
6 and 6, probably.
I have them 7 and 5.
Whoa! Man,
Yeah.
that's too many wins.
What?
I don't know. Muschamp could surprise us. He did
I mean,
last year.
'cause-
He could do it again.
South Carolina's still sitting there remembering the A&M game when they came in there and smoked them with Spurrier. You remember that a couple years ago in 14 to start the SEC network?
Yeah.
And I believe South Carolina's sitting there going, all right, here, we're going to return the favor to you guys.
But you know what? It's this year in the SEC, when we sat here, we've analyzed over half our teams already.
Yeah.
So, man, I think it stems from last year. Have we ever had a season to where we really, outside of Bama, don't know who's going to end up where? And
No.
that was kind of when I say it stems from last year. Bama finished the season undefeated, going into the playoff. Nobody else had less than 4 losses.
Right.
So I think we start the year the same way we ended it last year. We don't know. We
Right.
don't know what we're going to see outside of Alabama because Alabama at this point we know the consistency. We know
Yes.
they're probably not going to lose more than 2 games the whole year, counting whoever they lose to in the playoff or bowl game.
Right.
We know that, so it's easy to bet on that. But just the way some of the teams finished the year last year, we don't know. It's wide open. The East is wide open, I think.
Yes.
Outside of a few teams that'll be at the bottom. Why don't you call Paul?
I just don't. Win total for Mississippi State. I said 9 and 3.
We already did that.
I know somebody asked. They didn't hear it.
We both said 9 and 3 for State.
So I
I'm
just,
betting on a big year.
yeah,
I need to go to Vegas with it. Would you?
no, I would not.
Because you think it's being optimistic.
I don't know. State can do a lot of great things and all that stuff, but Mississippi State defense is going to be key, like we've said time and time again.
That 9 and 3 is banking on defense being much improved and Fitzgerald getting better in the passing game.
Right, but I will tell you this: we've got to find some receivers now that Fred Ross is gone.
Yeah.
We have to. That's my concern on offense.
Well,
is
Donald
wide
Gray's
receiver.
going to be a big one.
Yeah, and
Donald
Mixon.
Gray, Mixon, then Farad Green and Jamal Couch are going to have to grow up a little too.
Oh,
They
yes.
didn't get many catches.
Last year.
They're going to have to play some as well.
All right, Bud. Well, have you got anything else you would like to add before we sign off?
Nope. It was a good show. Thank you guys for listening, watching.
And we will be back next week.
It's on Wednesday.
Yes.
We'll be back to Wednesday next week.
All right, guys. Well, thank y'all for tuning in, and you guys are the best. We appreciate you. Hail State and go Cox.